Well, Mark, thanks for coming in and joining us on the Local Angle today.
You're welcome.
Your top story, gunned down, an off-duty policeman that went to the help of a security guard. I suppose it was an instinctive thing for him to do.
I think it was, yes. He was off duty, as you say, sitting in his car with his 2-year-old son in the back, and all of a sudden he sees a robber running in front of him with a cash box, and instinct just takes over, and he's out of the car and running after him.
And you don't always expect people to be armed, do you? Even in Britain, even in this day and age, I feel.
No, I think that's right. I think it's probably quite a nice part of our society at the moment that we don't expect that, even something that is obviously wrong in that respect, like a robbery. But yes, unfortunately, the accomplice to this robber was armed and fired twice at Sergeant Levinson.
And it's just the way the sergeant sort of said the gun clicked, and I thought it might have jammed, but then of course it fired again. It must be awful.
It must have been terrifying to be in that situation, yeah, to know that you're going to get shot, because the first one didn't go off, but the second one did.
And not being able to get away in
Couldn't
time.
get away, no.
And his wife says he shouldn't have been a have-a-go hero. I suppose it's okay to say that with hindsight, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I'm sure he would do the same thing again, but I think that's a typical wife's reaction to that sort of situation.
Inside your paper, you've got boycott threat to buses. This is buses that are coming under increasing vandalism in your area. What sort of vandalism have drivers been subjected to?
Various sorts, really. It's varied from stone throwing, which is smashing windows of buses, obviously putting drivers and passengers in danger, to one instance where I think a lamppost was actually pushed into the road in front of a bus. Again, it's very unpleasant for the drivers involved because they face injury and must be terrifying for passengers on the buses.
And now they're saying they're going to boycott the routes. But is there any reason why they're coming under attack? Do you think bus drivers are specifically being targeted, or is it just coincidental?
I think it's because they're there, because there are a bunch of bored youngsters who are doing these things, and the buses are obviously a large and obvious target, and it's no more than that, I don't think.
And police say they're going to have to catch the youngsters in the act, which is almost impossible.
It's very, very difficult, yes. They've got to be everywhere at once, and obviously at this day and age, they can't be.
Another rather macabre story, robbing the dead. Graves robbed here. And it's not the first time that statues and things have been stolen from graves in your area.
To our knowledge, this is the third incident that has happened in the last few weeks, and not even the same cemetery.
They're not thought to be connected, though, are they?
I don't think it is. I think perhaps there are some people who've got the idea that some of these statues on graves are valuable and they can be sold at boot sales and various other places. So, again, it's an easy target.
It's horrendous, really, isn't it?
It's very macabre.
I presume it'll lead to reviews of security in that kind of area, though, of course, it's almost impossible to...
Yeah, there are calls for an upgrade in security at the moment, and that is happening. But how far they can go with that, I don't know.
It's a bit like schools, isn't it? Trying to keep
That's
places
right.
like
Almost
that safe
impossible,
and secure.
Yeah.
And finally, you've got your very own Mardi Gras in Romford. It's a very colourful affair and well attended.
Very well attended last weekend. Yes, it really was a precursor to the main event, which is the 750th anniversary of Romford Market, and those celebrations are taking place the last week in June. This happened to be the opening of a new section of South Street, so it was a nice way of leading into it. But June is the main event, and we're expecting many visitors for that, and there are lots of events going on during that week.
Is the market very central to the town?
It is. It's literally in the centre of the town, and very well attended, and very popular by people not just from the Romford and Havering area, but from all over London.
It seems your photographers are out in force as well, collecting
They were
pictures last weekend.
Absolutely right. Yes, they were amongst the crowds, and yeah, they did very well for us. It was a good day. The sun was shining, and there were plenty of people about, plenty of things to photograph. So
and looking ahead to the celebrations themselves, how are you going to be covering that?
We're doing a 52-page special supplement on the market, which is coming out quite soon. That gives a history of the market and just explains, what's going on as far as the celebrations are going. We carry something in the paper every week, at least half a page, explaining what events are going to be coming up and coming. Mm-hmm. And the council are pushing it far and wide because they want to get as many people there as possible for what is a unique event.
Well, great. We'll look forward to that. Obviously, another busy month ahead for you,
That's
Mark.
Right.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming in again, Mike. You're becoming a bit of an old friend of this particular slot. Now you've had a bit of a triumph, the Yellow Advertiser. We've done it. We've done the double. Bit of an improvement on Manchester United's performance this season. What's all that about?
It is indeed. The story started a couple of weeks ago. We were approached by St John Ambulance in the borough of Barking and Dagenham, and they didn't have any defibrillators, life-saving equipment, and so they asked us for our help. We enjoy a reputation for winning campaigns.
Absolutely.
And we said, right, we'll see what we can do. I think this time it's only taken us 2 weeks to turn it round. Money poured in left, right and centre, and they asked for one. We've actually got enough money for two, one for Barking and one for Dagenham, so nice success story there.
Well, as you say, the Yellow Advertiser, the paper that gets things done. Well, now we turn to a story that we've covered here at Channel 1, a tragic case of the schoolboy, Yasin Godiwala, who was killed by a cricket ball during a freak match. Well, what's happened in that story?
Basically, the whole community is mourning the death, and I think some of the pupils that were involved in the game and classmates have been given counselling because of it. It's a real tragedy that has affected the whole community.
And there's going to be memorial services being planned, isn't there?
Indeed, yes. Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on now to the Redbridge edition of the Yellow Advertiser. And our first page story, Justice at Last, accident victim's mother opens her heart exclusively to the Yellow Advertiser. Now, this is a tragic story once again, but it's one that may have a happy ending.
Yes, what's happened is that Mark Chapman was employed by Barking and Dagenham Council. A terrible accident happened, I think 7 years ago. He was driving a van when a branch fell down. The van crashed and he became paralysed from the chest down. And the parents basically believed it was the responsibility of Barking Dagenham Council to...
this was back in 1990. This is not yesterday, is it?
No, and it's a long-fought battle, basically. They held Barking Dagenham Council responsible for the rotting branch. After lengthy battles in court, the victim, Mark Chapman's now been awarded a six-figure sum. And it looks like having a happy ending, although I must say that Barking Dagenham Council might appeal against that.
Yes, well, Mark said, or rather his mother Tina says, we hope there is not to be an appeal, and I think, speaking as someone who's strictly neutral, we hope so too, don't
yes.
we? Right, now, on to the next one. This one's a rather enjoyable little story. It gives me a chance to use the German word Schadenfreude, laughing at other people's misfortunes. So we're going to have a laugh at the expense of Redbridge Town Hall now.
Basically, it's a story that all journalists love to write. Bumbling, red-faced bureaucrats, and we always look for...
Red-faced in Redbridge, lovely.
What happened here is that back in October, the Redbridge Council set up a parking scheme in South Woodford. Up to then, we'd been able to enjoy free parking, but they set this up. It was goodwill, basically, to offset commuters who were using this free car park and then going off into London, parking their car by the station. And from October onwards, the local residents or workers had to pay a nominal sum to park their cars there. One bright spark, the councillor found out that the correct paperwork had not been processed. It's called a traffic order. And we've now found out that it's totally illegal, and all the money, all the charges that have been made since October have to be reimbursed, and it could run up to £15,000. People who've received parking tickets in that time have the right to apply for refunds.
A dreadful business. Council Chief Executive Michael Frater, beg your pardon, has demanded an immediate investigation. How to find out what went wrong and how to prevent it happening again. I should think so too. Now we come back to your campaigning. Oh, it's a story by you as well, Mike. Exclusive by Mike Bass. Hospital inquiry promised by MP. This is New Labour, new services perhaps in the health service.
Indeed, yeah. New Labour, new hope. And one of the worst performing hospitals in the entire country is Whipps Cross Hospital. And they've come bottom of many performance tables in the last couple of years. There's great concern. I must add here that they have come top of one table, which is the one for receiving most complaints. Local MPs are very angry about the situation. They don't blame the staff. It's basically underfunding, and the local MP Harry Cohen has pledged to get it raised in the House of Commons. 2 days after the paper came out, he managed to get it mentioned in an adjournment debate, and he's very optimistic now that Labour are going to pour money into the hospital, staff it up, and that the services will be brought up to scratch.
Right, well, we shall wait and see. Mike Bass of the Yellow Advertiser, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
James, thanks for coming in and joining us on the Local Angle today. Your top story, I understand, came to you quite late, just before going to press, Homes Fit for Angels. This is about the NHS Trust selling off staff houses to housing associations and then them being rented back out to the nurses. Isn't this rather an admission, though, that the Trust can't manage their budgets after all?
They can't. They're in quite serious financial trouble, and I think they've got to try and come up with some money from any source, and I think this is as good as any. The homes that the nurses are living in at the moment aren't all that good, and I think they'll be pleased to see some sort of change, whatever change that is. It depends. The only bad thing perhaps is that if their rents go up.
Have you had much reaction from the nurses yet, or is that still to come?
I had an angry phone call from a nurse yesterday who said that perhaps we could investigate a little bit more, so we're going to have a look at it next week, perhaps, see quite the sort of state of the places that they're living in at the moment.
I presume that it's very difficult, isn't it, for NHS trusts or hospitals generally to attract people to work in London if the accommodation's bad. I mean, some people say it's bad enough living in the capital anyway, with lack of space and everything.
It must be pretty bad. They had to recruit nurses from Scandinavia and all sorts of places just to get people to come to Hackney. So,
really?
Yeah, so they've had to, perhaps this will encourage more local people to come and join them.
Inside your paper you've got a couple of angry local people, at least anyway, in your story, Clamped Down Corner. Traffic busters are clearing up Hackney's bus lanes, but they're doing it on mopeds, so it doesn't give them much of street cred, does it really?
No, not really. It's like Jasper Carrot or something, funky moped, but I don't know, if you don't know Hackney, the traffic is really bad, and if they were in anything else but a moped, or maybe they could bung them on bikes or something, if they weren't anything like that, they couldn't get around to actually sort the traffic out, to sort the bad parkers out.
So do lots of people use the bus lane for parking?
Oh, it's
stopping?
terrible. Yeah, it's terrible in Hackney. I mean, I don't think anyone watching this from Hackney would say, oh no, he's wrong there. It's definitely traffic and parking, bad parking, are real problems in the borough, and they all just lead to pollution, which is another big problem in our area.
Did it come up then with the recent election? Was it an important local issue?
No, I don't think so. They're two really strong Labour safe seats, so it's difficult to say what were the big issues there. Right. It wasn't as if anything was a real issue apart from voting Labour back in again, really.
And then you've got the mother also that was clamped, and this issue about her parking ticket being upside down, this disagreement over what upside down
means.
means.
That's right. She says it was upside down as in upside down, but the council came back to us and said it was actually face down, and that their traffic warden couldn't actually see what it was, but she got clamped, and I think her car got towed away in the end as well. She was hopping mad. She came into the office and complained to us quite vociferously. So anyway, she gave it to us, and I think she got some money off the Sun for doing the story as well. So
all right, so maybe just about covered her
just
fine,
covered her
maybe.
fine, I think. Yeah.
Another interesting story here. Staffs arriving at Hoxton, and the Humble Salvation Army Hall is going to be the centre of it all.
That's right. Yeah, I think we've got 4 or 5 big-name TV celebrities who've turned up, and I went past there the other day, and it was a lovely day, and there were about hundreds of people from Hoxton all sort of staring and seeing who they could see. Pauline Quirk, Michelle Collins, some quite big names, Francis Barber, Gwyneth Strong from Only Fools and Horses. So, a good bit of celebrity spotting in a place where you wouldn't normally see celebrities, I think.
The local people then hoping to get that little walk-on part?
I don't know, I hope so, but I haven't heard from anyone who's actually had that, but, you never know.
But apparently Hoxton does have a history of filmmaking.
Yes, it does. The Gainsborough Studios, which is just up the road from where they're filming now, that was where Alfred Hitchcock filmed his first films, The Wicked Lady, The Lady Vanishes. There are a few others as well. We did a history piece on it, because unfortunately it's going to get demolished to be turned into a bingo hall. But,
oh no, really?
I know, a bit of a shame, but it's a bit of a relic, really. All it was a carpet warehouse recently. It's just been let to fall to pieces, really, so there's no future for it.
And finally, you've got your Leisure Plus page, and you're looking ahead to the Midsummer Festival. That's in June. It sounds like it's quite an incredible event. We've got glowing cacti, live ants' nests. How does this coincide with the theme that I understand this year is poetry and literature, or was it just interpret it as you will?
I think it is pretty much interpret it as you will. Hackney's got more artists per square mile than anywhere else in Britain, and they tend to. They do everything. They do everything from fine paintings to sort of really weird installations. And if you go along to Stoke Newington, I think between the 15th and 22nd, you'll see pretty much all of that.
And this is organised by the community rather than the council as such, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a real community thing. I mean, it's basically the people from the area doing it, and they have got funding from several sources. But it's their idea, it's their brainchild, and the same people, I think, have been organising it for the last 5 years. So they've really got an idea of what they want, and they don't want anyone else to sort of come in and muscle in and tell them how to do it. And to be honest, it's a really good success story, and get tens of thousands of people turning up. So.
And what's the grand finale?
It's not a grand finale this year. They've got a grand beginning. They've got a carnival procession. They have got a grand finale with a candlelit procession, but they've got the huge carnival on the first day this year rather than the last day. Last time they had a huge carnival procession at the end. This year we've got the carnival people who are based in Stoke Newington coming along and doing it on the first day, just to kick it off with a real big
Well, no
start.
doubt you'll be covering it in your paper as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Acres of coverage.
Acres and acres of it, all in colour. James,
Only.
thanks very much for coming in.
You're welcome, thanks.
Good morning, thanks very much for coming in. Let's start with a story which seems to confirm